And we'll open the circle and have each one of you, place yourself in the circle name where you are on the planet. In my circles, we were traditionally, what we're doing is understanding that we are in a space of divine good, sacred sovereignty, a healing space, a transforming space. And so those that we are aware of, we're bringing them into this circle with us for that healing and blessings for them. And we just do it by number. So if there's a number of individuals you feel to put into the circle, you can do that by number. And anything in the world you want to put in that circle, any of your furry ones or other life forms you want to bring into the circle, you're welcome to do that. And also we like to say, and this is the quality or the value that we want to make sure is amplified in the circle today. So I will begin, and Sharon Raji Maynard here on Whidbey Island. Overcast day. We're finally getting a bit of rain up here in the Pacific Northwest. It's been a very long time. And I have 64 people I want to put into the circle. 8 specific world situations I want to bring into the circle. And the quality of deepening. And I'll pass to Arlie.
Hi, I'm Arlie. I'm in New Zealand. I would like to bring in 13 people. My old sick cat who's still hobbling around and doing well for an old sick cat. 3 personal situations, 3 world situations, and the quality of real understanding of what we are learning. And I will pass to Denise.
Hello, I'm Denise, and I'm in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina, just southeast of Charlotte. I would like to bring in 25 people, 6 critters, 2 global situations, 1 personal family situation, and let's see, the quality is, understanding.
Perfect. And we'll pass to Tara.
Okay, so I am Tara. I am in Phoenix, everyone knows. I am bringing in 4 four-leggeds, 17 people, 4 world situations, and I would like to bring in the word enlightenment. And I pick Susie.
Hey, I'm Susie from Phoenix, Arizona. I'd like to bring in 20 people, 1 puppy and 1 cat, 4 global situations, 4 personal, complete understanding and expanding personal tools for healing and learning. And I tag Jennifer.
I'm Jennifer in Anthem, Arizona, and I would like to bring in the circle 7 people and 2 little critters. They're making a lot of noise behind me. And I'm not very good at this. I pray about a lot of things, but one of the people just got out of surgery, so I've been praying a lot about that. I'd like to put in the circle also something that's been like an interpersonal thing that I did not start, but it's just is what it is. And then I guess that's it. And my word, nurture.
We all did good. Thank you, Jennifer. You did just perfect. Sometimes I don't, we add up the numbers, but I added up the numbers this time. So we have 164 individuals in our circle, 11 personal situations, 14 furries, 24 world situations. And any others that need to be in the circle that we aren't aware of, but our guides are, we place them there too. Placing them in that platform, that field of divine good that has the power to dissolve what seems impossible and open doors for wellness and healing and good where none were there before our request. And so it is. Okay, so let's start with anything that's on your mind. Now, last week I had you take away one word. I think we even balanced to that one word. If you remember your word from last week, you can bring it in or say what an impact that may have been, or anything that's just kind of on your mind, on your heart, a question, whatever is there for you. And we'll just do popcorn style, which means that whoever wants to unmute, say what you say. When you're complete, then the next person pops up. And if there's a little bit of space between, that's okay too. So I'm just going to mute myself and let the field be open for you guys. So you're all up to speed? No questions? Okay. So there we'll start then. We're going to go back to one little thing. I think it's right here. Okay. And do just a little bit of a recap. So as you remember, we talked about the 7 different families, and they weren't together. They were separate. They were doing their own thing. And as they birthed around an agenda, that agenda was a balanced agenda. Love, intuitiveness, clarity, emotional is how we'd experience it down here. In the world up there, it's easy to see it as a color, a section of the entirety of all that's possible. So we want to do the red ray, and we're going to do the blue ray, etc. And so it was more like a harmonic, and they wanted to have a little bit more experience, like going to ongoing concerts around one particular artist, except family number 1, who wanted to be able to go to a lot of different concerts with all different kinds of artists, that curiosity. So they left it open to do a little across the board of all colors or all concerts and types of songs. And they were the one that birthed first, if we were to say, what was the birth order? And I'm equating it to things we understand on Earth. So that's why I'm using birth order. They really weren't like a birth order, mom and dad. But they did birth in some particular order, one right after another. And the first family was curiosity. And they were there in the first world with all together in one large group. In the galactic worlds, there is no individualization, personal choice. It is mass consensus. We are like beehive mentality. We're a group. And therefore, everything's connected. What you hear, then I hear. What you know, then I know. And we're all in a group. So they did World 1, and they were all in one group, and they decided they wanted to experience you go to this concert, you go to this concert, you go to this concert. They divided into 4 family groups so that they could get a little bit more deeply. Some would experience, let's say, blue directly, but we would all experience it vicariously because we're all connected, you see. And that was great. And then in World 3, they decided to expand even more, go a little bit more deeply into the experience, and it was all balanced, all frequency of wholeness or love. Love is an aspect of wholeness, so I don't like to use love because it fractures out one of the rays. This family, it was wholeness of all. So in the third world, they had 12 different groups so that they could experience it a little bit more deeply. And in the family groups, they were doing well. And it was at this point they attracted the attention of families who had chosen not a reflection of divine good, but of entrapping and using others or domination. And they chose that, created that for their agenda, and they were in the galaxy, or Laniakea, as we say. They were out there floating around, and they were always looking for the next host, because parasitics by nature use up their hosts because they're not giving back, they're just using, right? So I'm going to flip up here. So here we are within right now we're in the Milky Way constellation, and we're the Earth, but this is like where we were initially, the great supercluster called Laniakea. So somewhere in this whole landscape, this was going on. There certainly there may have been an Earth, but we weren't on it. There might have been a Milky Way, but we weren't there. We were up here experiencing things without that kind of a solid form. So in the third world is where the attention of these outsiders said, that family right there is pretty darn juicy. I mean, look at them. They're sparking all over the place, because we were. And how can we then get through their boundaries? So they broadcast into this space, which we then heard. And the broadcast was something like, what would happen? I mean, you're doing great because you're holding constantly to Mama's hand up here. I'll say Mama for source. You're holding constantly to source. Well, of course you'd be doing great. What would happen if you let go and only maybe held on with 2 fingers, like 10%, for a little while, to see what it's like, to see what you could do? Maybe you're grown up enough. And then go back to being fully connected. So we heard that in that third world. That group heard it, and they went, that's an interesting idea. This is a family of curiosity. Oh, that's an interesting idea. How could we do that? Because we're fully funded, or fully connected. The only way we could do it is to create a numerical chip, because numbers, colors, symbols are part of the language up here. So it's by creating a symbol, including numbers and shapes, that we write a program that says, okay, slow our tube down to like 10 and then put it back up to 100, 10, 100. So they said we could do that. Well, then we realized that that was going to be automatic. It was not anything we would then have control over. It was just part of the program. Skinny, fat, fully present, partially present. And we knew that each of those groups, once they were in the up and down roller coaster ride, when they were complete with it, because we did plan to be complete with it, they would have to take the chip out, so like out of the software program. And so when they realized that if they went to take the chip out of their flow at just the wrong time, and they're in there messing around, and then they get flipped, now the programs, they didn't even know what would happen to all the numbers. Boop, So they put in place a safeguard that was a group of the family who would move. They'd each move out of the 12s and form a 13th group. And that 13th group would be the safeguard. They would not have a chip. They would stay fully connected to source. Fully connected to source. And when any of the other 12 said, we're finished, they would surround that group and hold it steady while the chip was removed. It's a great plan. It's kind of what we do with energy healing, don't we? We create a safe space. And so that everything seemed to be in place. The chips were inserted, each of the 12 groups, the 13th off to the side in the observation room. They're vicariously experiencing, not directly. And off they go. Red, 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 muddy red, muddy red, muddy red, green, 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 muddy green, muddy green. And they're all flashing at different times, different ways. It's all spontaneous. And lo and behold, the observers of the 13th begin to see that they're dropping in frequency. The frequency is slowing down. What do we do? I hope they stop soon, because this doesn't look good. And then the second broadcasting from the outsiders came directly to the 13th, basically a broadcasting message that said, you're not enough, you're not old enough, you don't know enough, you're not strong enough, you haven't been around the block, let us help you. Does that sound familiar in our world today? I will help you. Just give me your gun, or not. Give me, your tools, and I will protect you. So, what happened is the outsiders, and there was a group of them, about 3 different families invited in. We opened the door, and what had then become clear boundaries because of the 13th. They invited them in, and now because it was a deception, outsiders held the 13th hostage, disseminated them, caused confusion amongst them. And so when the first of the 12 groups said, help us, the 13th group fell apart. They didn't have the cohesiveness to do it. Therefore, the chips were never removed. And those 12 groups continued to function between wholeness and limit, wholeness and limit, wholeness and limit, what we call love and fear, love and fear, love and fear. Duality is not something we made up in Earth. It was literally, it has been literally a program spontaneously moving us back and forth, back and forth, back and forth from that point on. And then what happened is the 13th, each member went back to the 12, the group they were from. They went back in silence. They'd been at war. They couldn't tell anybody. They couldn't say, nobody's coming for you. You're just going to have to do the best you can, because they wanted to keep hope alive. So the 13th went away feeling it's all my fault, that everything's never going to get changed. My fault. I'm deeply in debt to everybody. I am guilty. I'm not strong enough. I did something wrong, and I can't tell anybody. And the 13 and the 12 remained in wholeness, duality, wholeness, limit, wholeness, limit, wholeness, limit, and also waiting for the Savior to come. When's the Savior going to get here? Because I know he is. The outsiders were a third stream of energy, and that third stream of energy is not from wholeness, and it isn't from fear. It's from a clear agenda purposefully chosen to dominate. So from that point on, we had wholeness, fear, domination, and the domination energy continuing to drain away life, drain away life, drain away life, which lessened our own sip on the straw, if you will. Now, what we did, and then when we kind of covered that in the last last week. So what did we do? Because we're very intelligent beings, and we tried many things to try and get out from under the outsider influence. But when you're in the galactic world, you entrap an entire society. So the first family group, that family group of curiosity, can begin to scatter into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller groups. That's unique. The other 6 did not. And so each of those little groups, the outsiders only needed to throw a net over a group, and now they have millions. They did not have to go one by one to entrap us at a soul level. So we tried standing up to them. We tried negotiating with them. We tried begging them. But they have an agenda, and we don't count except for their fuel, their food, and we don't count. So that didn't work. We tried fighting them, pushing them, getting them, and that didn't help, because those initial outsiders begin to be asked by other outsider families of domination, okay, hey, can we come in and be part of the farm? And it's like they parceled out. So now we have not just 3, now we have 10, now we have 12, and pretty soon those who owned us were multiple. So fighting didn't help, but it left us wounded. And those wounds within the soul group also become part of our frequency. You see? The other thing that we did that was that we've had to discover in our earth walk is we made what I call sacred contracts. So let's say there is a group of 5 million soul family members that are 5 million. Now we've been trying to get help from outside of this particular our group. We've been trying to say to the others in Laniakea, we need help. But personal choice as a group, I mean, if there was the idea that we were choosing this, and we had chosen it, we were choosing it, and it was nobody's business to interfere. So add that to the fact that we were diminishing in frequency, we were becoming corrupted in frequency. So those other groups out in Laniakea who were doing healthy things distanced themselves from us and put us in isolation because they didn't want to become contaminated by our choice, you see? So one of the things the sacred contracts were about is for these 3 million getting together and say, what do you think about locking us into that limited or muddy or diseased energy for a longer period of time? So we're flashing out into the greater Laniakea, muddy green, and once in a while we'll take a breath of a clear green, but then we'll go back to being majorly muddy green, because there are so many of us, they will see so many of us that certainly they will rush to our aid. So it'd be like if you equated it to an earthly situation. Let's say that there is a village in Africa who has 3 cases of measles. Hardly a bleep on the world scene. But if that village in Africa had 90% with measles, that's a weighted amount to get attention. It's that concept. If there's more of us, they'll see, hey, we better get some help over there. So we made sacred contracts, which locked us as a group of 3 million or more into frequencies of non-health, of non-balance, by promises with each other that then followed us down onto the earth experience. Now I'm going to, all of this information, it was like totally like, what are you talking about? As I was getting it from my teachers, I'd never heard anything like this before. And so, I'm listening and I'm applying it in my sessions to see how we can come up with questions, processes, and et cetera to deal with what they're saying. And it was probably about maybe 2 years into beginning, when I began in '89, that I met a person who was quite interested in hermetics. Now, hermetics is a mystery school tradition coming from ancient Egypt. And supposedly it's coming from the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus. And it's been kept as a secret society that's taught in secret, lived in secret, and then they spread it to the parts of the world, and they become visible for a time, and then they go underground to keep it secured. The mystery schools, you had to be invited in to the mystery schools. Not everybody could come in. You had to meet certain criteria, and before you could come in. So that's part of this mystery school thing. So I was really intrigued, because some of the things I was hearing this person say from this tradition was things that I've been hearing from my guides, which was like, whoa, that's different. I hadn't heard of any place else. So this is one of the pieces that when I went to a weekend conference, there was a fellow from Paris who had been in the traditions of the mystery school, of the Hermetic mystery schools. He was a physicist by training, and he was an alchemist in the tradition. So this is how he explained it. How is a Hermetic, that we all exist here in world one, and I don't call source world one, but he did. So this is source, and we extended from source, a small group of us extended from source into world 1 and 2, and he said in 3 is where things went awry. He didn't go into detail, and he said from the 3rd world on, we began to de-evolve, or involve. I guess I thought it was de-evolve, but I guess called it involve. In other words, we began to fall in frequency. You see, fall in frequency. So this is, instead of the spiral that I just showed you, this would be looking from a different perspective. That this is in the mystery schools, that they were teaching the same thing. So I went, okay, I guess I'm in good company. So here you have, by the time we are at the 7th world, not only has that first group gathered a lot and been contaminated and owned a great deal, those other 6 had been opened the door in their way, through deception in their way. They didn't have all of the injuries that the first group did. So that's why I was told to use the first group, because then we get more expansive of what we need to do to correct this. So here you have the downward spiral. We have the sense of being powerless. We have the sense of somebody's going to come and help me. Somebody's got me, get me out of this. Some others who are totally guilty. It's my fault. And understand that those, the chips, the not enough, let go of source's hand. It's very common for those who are being impacted by outsider energy. We all have, by the way, to some degree, have a great disregard for spiritual work or spiritual guides. If they could disconnect us from that concept, they would. So that is what you as a soul carried within you before Earth was even thought about. So I thought I'd give you a minute to see where in your life you've experienced any hint of that outsider concept, like you're not enough. Somebody will save you. Somebody. Who am I going to look for to save me? Feeling great, wholeness, and then the bottom drops out. The sacred contracts show up this way. You just are building your life. You're just starting to get strong. So you're maybe like 20% strong, 30% strong, and then everything drops back to nothing. That's how sacred contracts show up. If I could only say it right, do it right, I might be free. I might be okay. So I'm just going to give you about 3 minutes to think about that, make notes of it, and then we're going to go into small groups and let you talk to each other about where have some of these things shown up in your life? Maybe not now, maybe in the past, maybe you saw it as a child. And then that's what we're going to do for the next bit. So I'm going to mute and let you be in quiet for a minute. Okay. So I'm going to put you in two different rooms, 2 to 3 a room. So you have a couple of minutes each. So let's go with maybe 8 minutes. And what would any of that feel like on the planet, and how has it shown up in your life? And how does it give you any understanding of maybe why you keep being pulled back down, or have thoughts that you don't even know where they came from? So here goes the rooms. Any questions before we go in there? I'm sure the answers, if you have questions, your co-conspirators will be able to work with you on that. So here goes the rooms, and I'll see you in about 8. How was that?
Interesting.
Good.
So let's go around, and whatever whatever you want to say about that particular experience, let's bring it back into the main room, and we'll go around like tag style so everybody get a chance. If you want to pass on the first go around, definitely do. So Denise, you're unmuted. Why don't you start? What would you like to bring back into the main room?
Well, that I guess I'm really excited to hear that, there is a reason why I've had so many setbacks in my life, and that things go good for a while and then boom. And one of the big ones has been health. And I guess I'm really kind of not happy, but it's good to know that it wasn't just me beating myself up, or having not succeeded from whatever therapy, self-help, decades of working on myself, and that there's something bigger in this picture that has been very consuming. So I think it takes away, well, it kind of, I don't know, it has me thinking a lot differently about victimization. And I'll stop here with that, because that's something I'm going to be thinking about a lot and putting into different perspectives. So I'm done. Next. Thank you.
Thanks, Denise.
I'll go next. So I think Susie and I agreed that, I mean, almost the majority of things everyone's experienced, at least the things that we've talked about in some way. I had verbal abuse as a kid, and even if people weren't raised with that, I had physical abuse too, but you still experience it at some point in your life from other people. People you don't even know can be very rude and nasty. I think competition is part of it, because I don't think that's part of our nature either, is to try to, beat someone to prove you're better and kind of shove their face in the dirt, you know. And I'm not thinking I'm smart enough or good enough, and if only I did something a little better, things would have worked out differently. Mean girls at school, I think every one of us in this place can agree to that. So, the list is tremendous, but those are just some of the most basic things that I think almost every human being has experienced in their lifetime, more than once. So, and I will call on Jennifer.
Thank you, Tara. I just mind blown. I was like, oh my gosh, my whole life has been this roller coaster, and to know that everybody else has experienced a bit of a roller coaster ride as well. And it's not that I haven't noticed that. Everybody has ups and downs. Everyone does, just like you mentioned, Tara. So it is what it is, but I'm really encouraged to have some tools, as Arlie said, that we're going to have tools going forward to know how to battle the parasites. I'm done.
Well, I seem to have a theme with the types of major roller coaster stuff that really gets me in my heart, makes me angry. I want to say right here, though, I am really proud of myself for continuing fighting. So the first thing that I mentioned in the room was in 8th grade, there was a trophy for the top female athlete, top scholar in 8th grade. That was mine, hands down. There was no one who could compete against me athletically in every single field and consistently beat me. And I had a really high grade point average. And that was the year that the person handing this out decided to give it to 5 girls instead of 1. The next time I was the top graduate in my nursing school. Hands down, the top graduate. I had a 4.98. And we're standing there in group. Oh, also, and I was a loudmouth and the instructors didn't like me. You know, I called the hospitals filthy, which I didn't know that I shouldn't have named them as filthy. You know, nobody told me this. But anyway, so we're standing there in a group. We're all giving compliments to each other toward the end of the year. And the instructor goes, and so, you know, Ethel does this and so does that. And so wouldn't Ethel make a great valedictorian? Arlie, don't you think she'd be great? And I said, yes, not knowing that Ethel was a 3.95. And that job should have been mine. And I just gave it away. So that happened again on Mercer Island in various and sundry women's groups. I got taken down when I should have been getting accolades and praise. So that's been my theme. And it was good to find out that, no, it's not me and bad breath or whatever the hell. So pass it on to Susie.
Just pretty much what Tara said, that I think all of us have experienced things. It seems like big times in my life really stick out, childhood, just trusting my family and then thinking, who are these people? Like I was 3 thinking I would never treat people like they treat people or even each other. And, and just, I had a situation that I won't bring in now, but recently I told Tara that I used to think it was God when I was like 3.5, but recently I don't believe it was God. I believe it was an angel that came to me. And it's funny because my ex-husband, that's another time during marriage, like trusting, and he would be very like super nice and get me to trust him just to like rip that out from underneath me. And it was all just like a game or a trick just to like, cause some sort of chaos, make you believe that he like, like he believes what you believe, but then he really didn't. So it was always like this, getting pulled out. And, under 6 years ago, and I had, I got a new job and things were looking good. I was, losing weight, getting this job. And then I got in 2 car accidents 3 months apart. Neither one I could have like stopped or controlled. And again, it's just like my world just flipped upside down. There's these times where things appear to be going well and just how everything just flips over. And I'm like, what is going on? So, yeah, I really think going all the way back to situations when I was a child, had I been more aware, probably would have helped me throughout my life. But so I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's just my thoughts were. So and I think everyone went.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these situations that we've been in over and over and over and over and over again didn't stay small. They got bigger, they got bigger, they got different names, and we began to normalize them. We began to give the different, we began to use different survival techniques. We began, if we were smaller, if I were more silent, if I were pretty or whatever, instead of knowing and understanding that we have outsiders amongst us. And I remember in '89, and the concept is still out there, and it's true and it's not true. All there is love. You've heard that. All there is love. It's true, but it's not true. Because the chip constant love, wholeness. The chip, up until 2000 and about two or three that I know of, was still in place in the galactic worlds, and love became fear, and the outsiders were never addressed. That's why us whistleblowers like Arlie in her nursing program, the whistleblowers that said, "Hey, look, the outsiders are here. Hey, look, there's dirtiness here," get squashed because the outsiders were committed to not letting us know they were here and letting us believe that all there is love. And the more harder you work, because the harder we worked to generate love, wholeness, service, because that's what we thought we should be doing, the more light they had to siphon off of our life stream. So the more hope we maintained, the more hard work we did, good for us. And they let us believe the pieces of truth without knowing the total truth, because that kept us on the treadmill of creating more juice for them to use. You see? Okay, so what I'm going to do, a 5-minute break. Is that going to be good for everybody? 5-minute break, do a little body, get some water, and then come back and we're going to do a little bit of question and asking here, okay?
That certainly was a happy little trip down memory lane. Sorry.
Every once in a while, you have to kind of remember. Oh boy. So you'll definitely want, I see you writing, all writing, so you'll definitely want something to write with. I'm just going to affirm that we are here on the sacred ground of sovereignty. We are cocooned within a 5-fold layer of space. We'll talk about that in a minute. So we're going to do an exercise, and it may be something familiar to you. It might be very unfamiliar. It doesn't matter. Trust yourself, okay? This inner self voice. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. And in relationship to that questions, there'll be yes and no questions, or number questions, or color questions. So simple. It's not going to be a whole paragraph you need to write. So we're going to call in your specific healing team, causal team, and connection to your higher self. Now you'll have to agree that they know and see energies in ways you cannot. So you're going to trust what you hear or sense from them. And it'll also give you, if you haven't, developed a practice of hearing and listening to spiritual guides, it will kind of give you a little experience to say, how does that work for me? Because I don't know, everyone's language is a little different, okay? So this is the first question we're going to ask, and I want you to just hear it, soften your mind, and whatever number comes in, or whatever answer, yes or no, comes in, write it down. So here's the question. Am I connected to any galactic sacred contracts? Yes or no? And write it down. Next question. How many? Susie, did you want to say something first?
I couldn't hear the first 3 words. It cut you off. Did you say I'm connected?
Yes.
Sorry.
I'll say it again. You're asking the question. You're listening for your inner knowing. You just trust it. Am I, meaning you, connected to any galactic sacred contracts? Yes or no? Second question, how many? Trust the number, even if it sounds outrageous. And then the next question is this. To understand the impact they might have on you in this lifetime, we need to know what is the color frequency that they are. And I'm just getting ready to put this into the chat so that you'll know the options you have. So these are the various color possibilities, and it'll be in the chat. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, purple. And there may be, like if you have two or three, or then they might all, both of them be yellow. So you might get every one of them, fine. Or you might get one or two of them, fine. Again, just trust. What color frequency are they? Okay, and now we're going to go around one by one, and you're going to tell me what your answers were. Arlie, would you start? You're unmuted, so I'm going to let you start. Are you connected to any?
Yes. And it has a 2 in it. 2 seems awfully low, but I have been doing a lot of work on these contracts, as you know.
Yes.
So, and the color is orange.
Orange. And so what that would look like here on the planet would be that your inner knowing of trust of spirit, you'd be solidly there, you'd begin to build it, and then it would collapse. Because that's all about your intuitive self, your intuitive, I know because I know within me. Okay. Susie, what about you? Yeah, Susie.
I said yes. And then, I don't know, 66 first, like 20 came to my mind, then 66. And then I was like, well, it's probably more than 66, but 66 is what for some reason just wouldn't leave my mind. And then for colors, I don't know, I went from yellow to gray to red. Those 3 colors, I don't know. I know I was supposed to pick one, but I couldn't.
No, you're not. No, not supposed to pick one. You're just supposed to write down whatever colors you're told. So you got what? You got red?
Yellow, green, red. Or gray, sorry. Yellow, gray, red.
Okay. So yellow is all about physical wellness. When the rug gets, you're feeling very clear. It's a clarity, a very strong clarity. It's a leadership type clarity, but it would shift down to disease. So it could be that what you experience is, I'm doing really well in my life, and then something physical happens, like a car accident, for example. You see? So that's yellow. And what was the other one?
Gray.
And gray that's probably more an indication of some injury. That's important to know because they told you it is. So it's important to know that that's somewhere in your galactic world. There's some kind of a gray thing, and that in the tag work, we're always expanding because we're learning more. Some people, I've never heard of gray before as a sacred contract, and so I'm going to check it out too. But so we're going to put that on the side, knowing that it needs to be dealt with. It's not okay for it to stay there. I just don't know what it might mean, and neither do you, and we'll find out. Okay, and what was the other color?
Red.
Red. So red is a vibrancy color, and it keeps you connected to in a different way to enthusiasm. So when that goes down, it's like maybe I can't do this. It's not like I'm not enough. It's not that concept. It's almost like the the wind goes out of your sails.
Hmm.
I don't know that I have the energy to do it. Okay, I'm ready to do it again, then I don't have the energy to do it. That's how it would play out on the planet.
Hmm.
Okay? Jennifer, I see you're unmuted. What's going on? What did you find?
Right. I got it. A yes. I got the number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not going to be correct, but
It's a place to start.
and then I mean I was really working hard to talk to my guides, and then I just got like it was black, and then I got a real blue and a very, very whitish bright yellow.
Okay, so the gray is and black are similar. That's something else that's not sacred contracts, but it's something. Okay, so that's good. We'll hold on to that. So very bright yellow. Again, yellow is that sign of leadership. It's a clarity. I just know how to stand, but it's a clarity that you're going to take action. People would be motivated with that. But when it goes down, it's physical disease.
Yep.
And that's what you've been experiencing. So what was the other color now?
Blue, very bright blue.
Oh, blue. Okay, so blue is that peace. I feel at peace. I feel calm. But when it goes down, you are emotionally a mess.
Yeah.
So and again, realizing that is like the chip. The chip was automatic. It spontaneously flew in and out because we programmed it that way. These contracts were the same. We could not overcome it on the planet, no matter what you do, because it's still locked in by your commitment in the galactic worlds. And that's why it's important to know galactic history. Okay, and we got black and gray. Tara.
Um, I had a yes, and I also have the number 3. I have red and then indigo and green, and I already wrote down what red was
Mm-hmm.
that you
Mm-hmm.
told Susie.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
indigo, it's like a aqua color or something,
yeah,
turquoise.
yeah, it's more like a purple blue. It's between purple blue is what an indigo would be, and it doesn't come around very often. So I have to look that up because I can't remember what that is. And what was the other green? Oh, okay. And green comes a
Green.
lot, so I know that one really well. I'll look up indigo and let you know. Uh, Green is wholeness. It's like people would call it, usually would say unconditional love. Well, love is unconditional anyway, but so it's wholeness. And so when wholeness gets disrupted, then you go into I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, nothing works for me, love doesn't work because something's wrong with me. It's not the not enough from the broadcasting. It's it's because of the frequency of muddy green. And I'm going to look up
Okay.
indigo too in a minute, okay?
Thank you.
Denise, what did you get?
Yes, 30 big ones.
Yeah?
And my colors were red, indigo, and purple.
Okay, red. We did the red. Did you hear what red was?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
And I'm pulling up the chart now for indigo and purple because indigo and purple do not come up very often. I'm pretty sure I know what purple is. Indigo is really rare. Let's see. So I'm having to look this up. So indigo, oh no, that's not the right one. Purple is a feeling, a connection to source. It's not the same as intuition. It's not an intuition. It's more like a deep knowing that source is who you are, that source is your home. You see? So again,
Yes.
when that gets disrupted, it's like I don't have any place to stand.
Mm,
You see,
yeah.
wait,
Yep.
I don't even know where I belong, would be how that would
Mm,
go.
mm,
See?
yep. Mm,
Okay, here I'm having to go into a different kind of, see if I can find it. It's really interesting that some of these colors, like indigo, does not come up much at all. Purple comes up a little bit. Red doesn't come up very often either. So I'm having to kind of punt on the indigo. Okay, I'm gonna punt, but not during class, because here's what I want you to know. In those worlds, we lost all of our authority. By the seventh world, which we diminished down to the point of, we wanted off the farm, but we couldn't go up to the master's house and say, been great, and now we're leaving the farm, we're going to buy our own property, and we're going to build our own business. It doesn't happen that way. We were owned. The reason we can do what we're doing now in the last 22 years is because of corrections that have been made, understandings that have come, that have been now anchored, that we've gotten back authority voice within the female, and that's for another time. But just trust me, the authority voice within females is different than it has been for 300,000 years, truly 300,000 years. So you are in a female bodysuit. Now I want to ask you the question here. These were contracts you made totally with good intent to be helpful to the family, to get help for the family. And then now the help has come. We've gotten a lot of those corrections have been made, but there's still some of our family groups, of which we're a part, that haven't got the message. So therefore they're still holding us into limit. So this is what we're going to do. I'm just going to have you close your eyes and just imagine yourself as one drop within this huge ocean. And some of you have 3 groups, and some have 66 groups, and some of you might find that there's another 100 groups. It doesn't matter. Call them all together in one big ocean, and you're the drop in the ocean. But you're coming from the future. And you have an authority voice to say, hey, soul families, we did it. We got the help. And I'm here to tell you, we did it. We can let go of those contracts and celebrate. Let yourself feel what is happening. How do you need to wake them up? If you need to wake them up, shake them awake. And then tell them again, we did it. We did it. These contracts are completed, fulfilled, released. And see them take a breath and see them balance to wholeness and cheer. When you feel complete with that, then just bring yourself back into our circle. So Tara, what was that like for you?
It was interesting because I actually, um, had like a feeling in my solar plexus that
Mm.
was like a butterfly sort of excitement feeling.
Huh.
And I don't usually have some sort of physical sensation when I do these types of things. So
Mm.
that was really, really cool. And it seemed that everybody was really excited, and the water looked like it was vibrating on the top, like just of celebration. And the water wasn't like sitting still. It was pretty cool.
That's great.
Like there were ripples all over it.
Arlie, what was yours like?
I also felt it in my solar plexus.
Mm.
Made me smile, made me happy. I could feel the joy of all of the beings that I was with. It was really good. I wasn't particularly charmed by your calling us back.
I know, but we have a time frame here.
Yes, we do. We do. I just can't stay there forever.
Right. What about you, Denise? And then Jennifer, and then Susie.
I felt like I could take a really deep breath
Mm.
without effort. It was very, it was just easy. It was clear. Felt very good. Jennifer?
Oh, um, it was pretty cool. I don't know if it was just different than everything else, though. I don't know if I should share it and just talk to you about it later, Sharon, or do you want me to?
It's your information, and you have, and your whatever you want to talk about is totally for you to decide. And know that whatever is no matter who shares what here, this is where it stays. But absolutely, you're in charge. It's your information.
Sorry, my dog's doorbell just rang. I just was doing the exercise, and as I was doing that, Jesus came
Mhm.
and said, "It is all okay because it is finished.
Mhm.
I have taken it all, and it broke me,
Mhm.
and it is done."
Mhm.
And
Mm.
that's it. And there was like, oh, it was pretty cool. And of course, I vibrated from head to toe. And I know this is not the exercise, but that's what happened to me.
Oh,
It's really cool. But
Mm.
and it's your exercise. It's your exercise. Yeah, very good.
Oh.
Mm.
And then I think I was after Jennifer. Um, so mine was I visualized when you said to go into the like an ocean, and that I was a strap in the middle. And so I said, everything is they're complete. And then right when I got done saying that, you said, if you need to wake them up. So I kind of visualized like taking my hands and like splashing the water up a little bit, just like up in the air and saying it again. And then it was like all the water was celebrating. It was like confetti, like the little drops of water was like cool, sprinkly, like glittery confetti being thrown around. It was really nice. It was very
Great.
exciting. And I felt it. And then right when I was like all that was, still going on, but kind of like over, you called us back, and then I just thanked everyone and came back. So it was a very nice closure too. It was exciting and closing and very, very, very moving.
This is a process that you have in your toolbox. And so anytime you feel like prompted, you don't have to understand why. If you just feel like, I want to just ask again, do be proactive. Just until, here's a few more, great, a few more. And just to let everyone know, when I asked my question in 71 for information, the one who answered me and brought information to me was Christ. And he has been the consistent giver of information for this work, for the tag work. There have been others that have been involved and are involved. Raphael, Michael, some ascended masters, individuals, guides. I mean, but he has been consistent in being present with us, just to let you know, Jennifer. Okay. So when you know that there are some energies on the planet that are not of our divine family's light, going back to the 7 agendas, all are of light. They all are intentions of good. Anything that is not of those agendas are of outsider creation. So, Jennifer, you had been, we were given an object of black, and Susie, you were given an object of gray. So I'm going to have you just close your eyes again. I'm going to ask you this question that you guys asked of that object, you're going to ask this question. Are you, the energy of that object, are you of my light? Get yes or no. Are you of my light? And when you're ready, looks like Jennifer is ready. Are you ready, Susie? Did you get the answer? Susie, what did you get?
I got no answer.
It's the same as no.
I could feel I could feel the presence, but there was no answer.
Normally, I would ask, the protocol is to ask 3 times, are you of my light? No matter what, are you of my light? Are you of my light? And if when there's the answer no or no answer,
Mhm.
the answer's no. Now, what do you do? Here's this object that you've been shown in your space, and evidently in the galactic space, because that's what we ask to be shown, that is not of your light, which means it's a group of outside energies. My question is, do you want it there? Then what do you do? Here's what you do. There is a group of beings that showed up in my bedroom as I was going to bed one night, and I had been warned in a dream that the work of tag was getting noticed by those who would want to crush us. And I didn't understand outsiders at that point. I only understood some moderately, not much. And so we put in place what we called the red rock vortex, which kept us invisible. Okay, and but clearly it wasn't enough, because there were these beings who showed up, and they show up periodically for me, and they may show up in form for you, because what they are is they're dots of light. So they're dots of light with radiating rays off of them, tiny dots that I always see right here in this part of my vision, whether I'm open-eyed or not. And they form geometric forms, and then they change into different geometric forms. And one of the things they do is help rewire the brain, with the neurological system. But this group, and they have not wanted to be given a name, and they do not want to be identified of where they came from. But their part in Laniakea, their space in Laniakea, has never been invaded by outsiders, because they developed sensitivities to identify outsiders no matter what they did to put on sheep's clothing, because they're very good at deception and sneakiness. So this group said, we know how to identify what I'm now calling outsiders, neutralize them, and remove them back to where they came from. Do you want us to help you? So I turned to my team, because I never invite anybody into the work unless my team, which is Christ and the original team, vets them. Do you know these guys? Because I don't know them.
Mhm.
Yes, we know them. Do you know what they want to do? Yes, we do. You think we ought to play with them? Yes, we do. Okay, so we put together kind of a test 2 or 3 week application where we had these dots of light, and again, that they don't want to name dots of light. We brought in some Plutonian energy because it's very clear, very strong energy for transformation, so they could hold boundaries. And then the tag teams, those who then could heal what had been damaged. 3 members of the team became what I call the PTO team. It's not an acronym. I just named it PTO because we have the right to do that. So PTO team. So what you do, anything that is not of your light, or you feel it might be just off, you don't know, you can call in the PTO team and say, PTO team, this doesn't seem to be what I want here, or this is not of my light. Deep 6, which has a lot of processes, a lot of declarations with it, but it says basically, contain them, identify everything that is outsider, neutralize it, bring it together, and move it as a whole package back to its home source. We do not send it out into the world for it to find somebody else. Once it's removed with PTO team, it cannot come back into our space, period. So we're going to have just maybe 30 seconds. Jennifer and Susie and the rest of us are there with you. Just close your eyes. There's the gray, there's the black. PTO, this is not of my light. Deep 6. Just hold that, no fight. Just hold it until you feel kind of a softening, release, boredom, whatever you feel. And when you feel complete, just take a breath. If you want to, you can kind of calm the energy. If you feel like brushing it off yourself, do. So anytime you're going through your day and it feels like your attention, something's off, even just a little possibility, that doesn't feel right. And it can be a physical pain, it can be a thought, it can just be a feeling. Use PTO Deep 6. Just start practicing relating to them. You can always, always quiet down and say, hey, my extensive team, is this what I'm feeling of the light? Sometimes I get ideas that are really great ideas, but I go, is this of my light? Meaning, is it part of the plan? Is it going to keep me on track? Is this of my light? No, that idea is not. So they're very sneaky. They try to cause all kinds of diversions, taking you off track. But definitely anything you're feeling pain around. Is there anything in this pain message? My arm, my neck. I'm going to tell you, is this of my light? Is this of my light? Is this of my light? And if not, PTO. Again, early on in using this, we tracked how effective they would be. And I was living in one location and I was going to go an hour drive to do a presentation as we often did, and it was about an hour drive. I get into my car and I'm going to be speaking and demonstrating, and I get into my car, I'm feeling great. I get into my car almost instantly as soon my car starts to move, and my throat hurts so badly. I've had no problem with my throat up until then. So what do? Are you of my light? No. Deep 6. Are you of my light? And there were so many little packages, so many little attachments in that throat area that it took me an hour before they were all gone. But when I arrived at my location, my throat was totally fine, not a problem. I have had students, when I was doing in person, because we haven't done that for a while, I would show up at a location for a workshop, work and I would have maybe one or two students go like, I don't know if I should be here today because I just have not been feeling great. I said, okay, just be still. Ask if that is of your light. Within 5 minutes or less, perfectly fine, perfectly fine. So you cannot overuse this stuff, really. You can underuse it, but you cannot overuse it. The places where outsiders really, especially with women, throat, back of neck, of course, vagina, solar plexus. Those are big ones. So if you're having any problems in those areas, just start asking, is there anything in this area that's not of my light? You know? And see what you can come to. Now, any questions on that? Then okay, Tara.
So is that could that also be like when you're looking forward to doing something, or you're supposed to, you know, I don't know, go somewhere, but then you just start feeling tired and you're like, I don't really feel like going, or
Yep.
you start feeling sick. That's what that is.
Yep.
You your energy starts to go down.
Yep.
Huh. Okay.
I was one that was really big for me early on because it was a really good excuse to say I'm just too tired. And then when I understand outsiders, I started to say, tiredness, are you of my light? Wasn't. Yeah, absolutely. You can't overuse it. And understand, as long as they are a presence in your field, you cannot expand into wholeness. You cannot, they will not allow it. They'll allow it, but then they will feed off of it, so you won't be able to experience it fully. You won't reap the rewards of it because you're feeding them. Denise, did you have something you want to say?
Am I muted?
Nope, you're fine. Now you're muted.
That was good. That was really helpful. Thank you so much,
Good.
Sharon. Thank you. Yeah.
So we've talked, at the beginning I set space and I used the six-fold cocoon. Anyone who's, been in class with me before knows this, at least the five-fold cocoon. We keep expanding and evolving, truly we do. But I'm going to explain simply the six-fold cocoon, but you will have a handout, an additional handout with this video. So because the energy fields on the planet are extremely contaminated, as you know, even to the point of things we put in our body can be contaminated. Our homesteads can have energy from other previous owners that is contaminated. Energy from Iran, Ukraine, Russia, Kenya, Haiti, all the disruption, that energy is damaged energy and it doesn't stay in their area, it circles the globe. But when you start waking up, and especially when you start being able to break free, that's really very dangerous. It's like a woman in a domestic violence. What's the most dangerous point? When her partner knows that for sure she's leaving. And that's the most dangerous point. It's kind of the same thing with outsiders. When they know that you're breaking free of their domination, control, and their numbed down state, or I should say dumbed down state too, they're going to try and crush you. So with this work, it's really important to keep yourself in a six-fold cocoon. I don't work with clients. I don't work in classes without the six-fold cocoon. Now this is the layers. Like I said, I started with the red rock vortex. The red rock vortex was a cocoon so that I could grow as much as I wanted to grow. I didn't have to manage and be small. Those holding the cocoon, it's like a field of intelligent beings holding the cocoon, could make me appear invisible, even though I was doing really big things. So I could appear invisible because they would monitor how much people could see. invisibility vortex. Then about 2 or 3 years ago, we started doing very active work in going back in time, like we're doing for you here through the Galactic, going back in time for humanity, removing inserted concepts like you're not enough. We broke down that tower. It isn't broadcasting anymore. Okay? The broadcasting that says, hey, we'll help you. You're not enough. We'll help you. And why don't you just let go of spirit? Go on your own. What are you, a baby? No, we broke down those towers. Those are gone. And so we've gone back to make those corrections. And we knew that when we did that, new ideas would start to come in to individuals and they'd start building good things, which is dangerous. Good, but dangerous. So we created what's called the Guardian Circle. And the Guardian Circle is like putting this new plant, project, person, book, idea, song, whatever, into this cocoon greenhouse with a PTO saying anybody who comes toward this greenhouse is going to be captured and removed, so that we would prevent the targeting and the crushing of new ideas. Guardian Circle. The next shield out, and they're kind of shielded this way, the next shield out is what's called the hitchhiker shield. What I term, and these terms are my terms, the tag terms, and as are the colors. These colors are not what everybody maybe who's psychic would use them this way. These are my colors. So hitchhikers are those souls who have left their body, and for some reason or another, and there's lots of reasons, they are wandering on the earth, not going to their next place. So they're wandering around like they're ghosts. And they're bumping into people and they're interfering with, with vibrational fields. And some of them are doing it intentionally. Some of them don't know. Some of them think they have to hang around and take care of their family, and their sickness that took them is now part of the family energy. So they're hitchhikers. Everyone born into a physical body before they are born works with a team I call the causal team. They're your most trusted friends in the spirit world that come together to help you decide what plans of possibilities you want to have this incarnation. Causal team. And they come in with you. They are the angels, Susie, that you probably felt. They come in with you. And they remember who, what, and they remember everything, but they have to live by the law. You're asking them. They can't tell you what to do. They have to wait for you, but they can be close, ready to jump in whenever you're ready. They walk with you through earth life, and so at the end of earth life, they are there, in addition to any family members, loved ones who have passed that might be there to help the soul move to what's best for them. Causal team. So when a person leaves their body, and for whatever reason they don't want to be judged by God, they don't believe there's another place, this is my land, I'm going to darn well stay here, for whatever reason, they do not make a connection or refuse to make a connection that says to the causal team, let's go. And so the causal team is there waiting for that connection that says, let's go. What the hitchhiker shield is based on the premise that if a ghost or a hitchhiker comes within your space, way out, it doesn't have to be close, unless you want to work with those beings. And there's no need to work with them, really, because their causal team is there for them. So the hitchhiker shield says when someone who is disincarnated gets this close to you, it is their request for their next step to happen. They're just looking at it that you're the one who can tell them. And you could, if you want to do that work, but it's not necessary. So we don't make it necessary. So therefore, their request is that they've come and they've touched your hitchhiker shield. That gives their causal team permission to move them on into wherever their next place to be. Hitchhiker shield. Then we have what we put in place called the hazmat field, which is an absorption field, like Michelin Tire Man. It says, you know, we're not going anywhere without this kind of protection in this toxic world. And it's just a field of absorption prevention from getting into you. The next one out, we just call it close the skies and open the golden song. And it's like saying, I'm aware enough that I don't even need experiences coming to me to make me aware that I need to get rid of outsiders or take care of contracts. I've already got that in place, so I don't need that. So close the sky. Don't let any of those signals come in, and amplify what we just call the golden song, which is harmonic to begin changing the entropy or the waste energy or the memory energy and start to sing it back into wholeness. That's the fifth. And the sixth shield is called the sensitivity shield. And that's especially recently put in place for those people who are empaths, because empaths bring in that sensitivity intentionally to be able to use it. But in our day and time, nobody's taught them how to use it, and it's too much. So they walk away with other people's energy, and they don't need, and it's not what it was intended to be for. So so the sensitivity shield has two sides to it. The outer side can be as sensitive as the higher self needs it to be to bring help and healing to the person. So kind of a similar thing as a hitchhiker, but not the hitchhiker. It's said these are people in body. They need help. My daughter's coming home. You can see her dog is happiest little camper. So that sensitivity is not what the person will feel, because there's the inner shield, and that's what the person will feel. And that can be dialed down and can be modified. So the outer shield can be as high as needs to be, because it's going to bring people to start helping healing. But the inner shield, there's a softness to it that the person, the empath, the sensitive, can begin using it and dialing it up or down, making it so that it's usable. Some sensitive people thought that they would maybe be doing healing work, and they've decided they're not going to do healing work. They're going to write books. They're going to use what they're sensing, and so they don't really need that shield inside to be turned up high. But they don't want. But they have the ability for their sensitive nature to trigger help for others by others. You see what I mean? So that's the sixfold. Okay, anything? Yes, Tara, before we close.
Two quick questions. So as far as the sensitivity, do you just state you want it to be low or medium or
Yeah.
high?
Yep.
Okay.
And then you see how it feels. You walk with it for a week or two, and then you can say, no, that's a little bit too low, or that's a little bit too high. Turn it down a little bit more. Similar things can be done when you're developing that communication with your spiritual guides. Though that the answers aren't quite clear enough, can you bring me greater clarity? Come a little bit closer. You see, you can also, as you're getting answers, you can also work with them to say, that wasn't quite the way I needed it to be. Can we find a better way for me to be clear? Which will
Okay.
also, as everyone knows, what's ever in your way that you may have put in the way that said it's not safe for me to hear, there would be healing done there too. Jennifer?
How do you learn that though? Like I'm doing, is there classes or things I can read? I keep hearing that I'm not, but I don't know what to do with it. And I know I am because I get sick all the time.
Mhm.
Like I don't feel good when I'm around a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a pretty good clue of a sensitive, that you don't want to be around a lot of people, even on Zoom can be hard.
Yeah, I got a headache about halfway through. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, what you do is you start with a statement, and we haven't talked about a reality statement, but a reality statement that says, what do you want to do? What is the experience you want to have with your sensitivity? So you make a statement that says, my gift of sensitivity, something like this. My gift of sensitivity brings me information and connections to help those that meet my criteria for help, and leaves me feeling uplifted and joyful.
I like that so much. Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just there and nobody's told you. You have to start by designing it. So something like that.
Mm.
It's there. It's a gift. Thank you. And so it brings me the people, but the people you want to work with. You don't have to work with everybody. So that's another thing you'll have to decide. If you want to work with people, how do you want to work with them, and what's their qualities? And maybe for right now, your sensitivity, that my gift of some sensitivity works with the sensitivity shield to bless those people, move those people into hands prepared to help them as I strengthen and recover my own balance and stability. That's probably what I would suggest you would want to do, because you do not want, you're not ready to open and say, I'm ready to help you. I mean, if they come into your world and they haven't, something that you could just say, well, try that, but you don't want to, I wouldn't suggest you open the door. But the sensitivity shield can take over the job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I already feel like this is an amazing tool. I'll listen to this part again and write everything down.
Right. Yeah,
I
that's
just wanted to be like, present and listen to everything you said. So
so say to your headache,
yeah,
are you of my light?
are you of my light?
And then ask again, are you of my light? And are you of my light? And what did you get?
No, it was like almost like a fog,
Yeah.
you
So bring in the PTO, and I would suggest that once you get off the call, you stay with that until you feel that the headache is gone. Just
Yeah.
to see I mean, you take a concept, you apply it. We're scientists. We really are scientists.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon.
How long does the sixfold stay active? Do you have to do it 3 times a day or once a day, or what do
I
you
do it whenever
recommend?
I do it whenever I think about it. If I'm going to do a session or work or a class, I do it again. I just really, my commitment is that anything that comes into my space benefits every part of myself. And therefore the cocoon is part of that. So if for whatever reason I need extra, or it's diminished or whatever, I just trust my my intuitive that says activate the cocoon. That's what I go by, not numbers. I go by how it is what I'm feeling, and I don't do any kind of work without that activation, that space. Drink lots of water too, by the way, ladies. Denise, did you have something to say?
Uh, no, I'm good.
Got it. I just noticed you're unmuted. So, okay. So what I'm going to have you do is we're going to do, did we do cook's hookup last week? Well, I want to get this in our brains. So getting it in the brain is, there's a couple of ways to do that. We're going to do it with what's called the cook's hookup. So you put your hands like this and interlace your fingers. Denise, I don't know if you'll have to kind of, I don't remember if you've taught you, then roll it up under your chin, cross your legs.
Yeah, I know how.
Okay, cross your ankles. And brain, we're saying this to the brain: the third world is corrected. Galactic worlds are unified. My divine family holds me. Third world is corrected. Galactic worlds are unified. My divine family holds me. Put your tongue at the top of your mouth, the roof of your mouth, and then roll your eyes 12 times clockwise and then 12 times counterclockwise. We're going to do a reality shift, so you can just stay in that position if you'd like. We say to our spiritual teams, move my consciousness and the consciousness of all to whom I'm connected in love into this declared choice. We ask the PTO and the tag team to deep six anything that is, has, or would keep us from it. We call to our causal team to ask them to design the program for the highest expression of our declaration, ourself and all to whom we're connected in love. When ready, download those codes into our first dimensional field anchored to planet, and place the program in the hard drive for this lifetime in the fifth dimension. We have declared, cleared, designed, downloaded, anchored. It is now activated, and so it is. Okay. So the replay will probably be up tomorrow with handouts. You'll get the handout for the cocoon and links to Deep Six and to Deep Six reality and the shift. A big one and a little one. Okay, there we go. Until next week.
They're hungry.
Oh, next week will be number 4, and we'll have completed the first month. So we're in good stead. Love you guys.
Love you,
And
Sharon.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Sharon.
Thank you so much.
Blessings.
Amazing.